The Tuesday evening rush at Riverside Plaza was winding down when Detective Maria Rodriguez stepped through the glass doors of Henderson's department store. After 12 hours processing evidence from a drug bust, the simple task of finding her nephew's graduation gift felt like a welcome respite. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead as she navigated past mannequins draped in summer fashions. "Something nice for Miguel," she whispered, her tired eyes scanning the electronics section. The 19-year-old had earned his computer science degree against all odds, and she wanted to celebrate properly. The peaceful moment lasted exactly 6 minutes. In the curved security mirror above the tablet display, Maria caught sight of them. 2 loss prevention officers maintaining what they assumed was a discreet distance. The woman with short blonde hair spoke quietly into her earpiece while keeping Maria in her peripheral vision. Her partner, a lanky man with nervous energy, kept checking his watch and glancing toward the store's main entrance. Maria's stomach tightened. 15 years with the LAPD had taught her to recognize surveillance patterns. She'd experienced this dance before in other stores, but the sting never lessened. Subject heading toward jewelry counter, the blonde officer's voice carried just enough for Maria to hear. Hispanic female, black jacket, large tote bag. Maintain visual. Maria's hands curled around her purse strap. Every instinct screamed at her to turn around, flash her shield, watch their expressions crumble. Instead, she took a steady breath and walked into Precious Moments, an upscale watch and jewelry boutique within the department store. Crystal chandeliers cast prismatic rainbows across glass cases filled with gleaming timepieces. Behind the main counter, a thin man in his 50s adjusted his wire-rimmed glasses. His nameplate read Kenneth. The moment he spotted Maria, his posture shifted from relaxed to rigid. "Are you looking for anything specific?" Kenneth's tone carried the subtle chill of suspicion wrapped in false courtesy. "Just browsing for now," Maria replied, keeping her voice even despite the familiar burn of injustice in her chest. She moved toward a display of elegant watches, exactly the style Miguel had admired in advertisements. Kenneth shadowed her movements, positioning himself to observe her hands. Through the storefront windows, Maria could see the 2 loss prevention officers hovering near a rack of designer purses, their eyes never leaving the jewelry counter. "These cases require assistance to open," Kenneth announced loudly, stepping closer to Maria's shoulder. "Nothing can be removed without staff supervision." "Understood," Maria said, still examining the watches. "I'll let you know when I'm ready to see something." But Kenneth didn't retreat. Instead, he moved even closer, his gaze alternating between Maria's face and her leather tote bag. The sweet smell of his cologne mixed with the tension in the air. "That's a very large bag," he observed, his voice carrying to the loss prevention officers outside. "Roomy enough for many things." Maria's jaw clenched. "Excuse me? I'm simply noting that our store policy requires all large bags to be checked at customer service," Kenneth said, his smile never reaching his eyes. "For everyone's protection." "I wasn't informed of this policy when I entered," Maria replied firmly. "And I don't see any signs posted." Kenneth's face reddened slightly. "Ma'am, if you want to continue shopping here, you'll need to comply with our security procedures." "This is harassment," Maria stated clearly. "You've been watching me since I walked in, and now you're inventing policies to justify searching my personal property." The conversation had grown loud enough to attract attention. Other customers slowed their browsing, phones discreetly appearing in hands. Kenneth glanced nervously at the gathering audience. "Either show us what's in that bag or we'll have to call mall security," he said, his voice cracking slightly. The boutique's entrance darkened as a bulky figure pushed through the small crowd. Officer Rick Thompson swaggered in, his uniform crisp, his hand resting casually on his radio. Maria recognized the type immediately, the kind of cop who saw confrontation as entertainment rather than service. Thompson was known throughout the department for all the wrong reasons. Excessive force complaints, targeting Latino families during traffic stops, a pattern of escalation that somehow never stuck long enough for serious consequences. His connections in the Union and City Hall kept him protected. "What seems to be the problem here?" Thompson asked, his eyes already fixed on Maria with predatory interest. "This woman refuses to comply with store policy," Kenneth said, emboldened by the officer's presence. "She won't allow us to inspect her bag." Thompson's hand moved to his handcuffs. "Ma'am, you need to cooperate with the store's reasonable request." "There's nothing reasonable about racial profiling," Maria said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "I haven't stolen anything, I haven't acted suspiciously, and you have no probable cause to search my belongings." "Probable cause?" Thompson laughed, playing to the growing crowd. "Lady, refusing to follow store policy is suspicious behavior. Turn around and put your hands behind your back." "Before you do anything you'll regret," Maria said clearly, her voice cutting through the murmurs of the crowd, "I think you should know that I'm Detective Maria Rodriguez, badge number 4847. Thompson paused, his hand inches from her wrist. Sure you are, sweetheart. And I'm the chief of police. Check my credentials, Maria said, slowly reaching for her wallet. My shield is right here. But Thompson grabbed her wrist before she could retrieve it. Nice try. Resisting arrest and impersonating a police officer. This just keeps getting better. The crowd's energy shifted as Thompson forced Maria's hands behind her back. Phones rose higher, recording every moment. Angry voices began calling out from the gathering spectators. Let her show you her badge, someone shouted from the back. This is wrong, called another voice. Thompson ignored them, roughly guiding Maria toward the store's side exit. Should have just cooperated, he muttered in her ear. They emerged into the parking lot where Thompson's patrol car waited under the harsh glow of sodium lights. The crowd had followed, spilling out of the store entrance, their voices rising in unified protest. I'm going to tell you one more time, Maria said, turning to face the cameras and witnesses. I am Detective Maria Rodriguez with the LAPD. Every second of this unlawful arrest is being recorded. Save it for booking, Thompson snapped, reaching for his car door, when Sergeant Lisa Chen appeared, pushing through the crowd with the calm authority of someone accustomed to diffusing volatile situations. Chen had worked with Maria on several cases, she knew exactly who was standing in handcuffs. Thompson, Chen called out, her voice carrying the unmistakable tone of superior rank. Mind telling me why you've got Detective Rodriguez in custody? Thompson's grip on Maria's arm loosened slightly. Sarge, I was responding to a theft call. This woman claimed to be a detective, but that's Detective Rodriguez, Chen interrupted firmly. Your colleague from the downtown precinct. The badge in her wallet? It's real. I suggest you verify that immediately. The crowd had gone quiet, watching the drama unfold like a movie scene. Thompson's face cycled through confusion, disbelief, and finally, dawning horror as the full implications hit him. With trembling fingers, he unlocked the handcuffs. Maria rubbed her wrists, collecting her composure while Thompson fumbled with her wallet, staring at the gold shield as if it might disappear. Detective, I had no idea, he stammered. The store called about a suspected shoplifter, and when you wouldn't cooperate, when I exercised my constitutional rights, Maria corrected coldly. Just like every citizen should be able to do without being criminalized. The drive home felt surreal. Familiar streets looked the same, but everything had changed. Maria's hands were steady on the steering wheel, but her mind churned through what had just happened. 15 years of service, and she'd been treated like a common criminal in front of dozens of witnesses. At home, she went straight to her computer and began documenting everything. Timestamps, badge numbers, witness accounts, all of it went into a detailed report. If this was happening to her, a decorated detective, how many others had suffered worse treatment with no recourse? Her phone rang. Detective James Park, her partner, had seen the videos already circulating on social media. Maria, I saw what happened. Are you okay? She leaned back in her chair, suddenly exhausted. Physically, yes. But James, this isn't an isolated incident. There's something bigger going on. Over the next few days, Maria dove deep into arrest records, complaint files, and court documents. What she discovered made her blood run cold. Riverside Plaza showed up repeatedly, dozens of arrests over the past 18 months, almost exclusively targeting Latino and Black shoppers. The pattern was unmistakable. Minor charges that led to mandatory court dates, which fed into a private probation system that extracted monthly fees from people who couldn't afford to fight. She traced the financial connections and found something that made her pause. Summit Supervision Services, the probation company, was a subsidiary of Plaza Holdings, the same corporation that owned Riverside Plaza. Maria's investigation caught the attention of investigative reporter David Kim from the City Tribune. He'd been working a related story about predatory prosecution practices and had 6 months of research that dovetailed perfectly with her findings. They've created a pipeline, David explained during their clandestine meeting at a coffee shop across town. False arrests feed into the court system, which feeds into their probation company. Every conviction is profit. The documents David showed her were damning. Internal memos discussing enforcement quotas and bonus structures for loss prevention officers based on arrest numbers. Financial records showing payments from shell companies to city officials. Most disturbing were the victim statements, single mothers forced to choose between fighting false charges and keeping their children, elderly people bankrupted by probation fees, students whose futures were destroyed by criminal records they didn't deserve. As Maria's investigation gained momentum, the intimidation began. Anonymous phone calls in the middle of the night. Her car tires slashed. Photos of her nephew's school shoved under her door. They were trying to silence her the same way they'd silenced others, but Maria Rodriguez didn't silence easily. And now she had proof they were worried. The breakthrough came when David's source inside the plaza's security office provided video footage that had been deliberately hidden. The timestamp showed Officer Thompson entering Henderson's department store 15 minutes before Maria had even arrived. The security cameras captured him speaking with Kenneth, the jewelry counter manager, pointing toward the entrance and describing someone who matched Maria's description perfectly. He set the whole thing up, David said, reviewing the footage frame by frame. This wasn't racial profiling in the moment, this was a coordinated trap. They had proof now, not just of discrimination, but of conspiracy and premeditation. The video showed Thompson orchestrating Maria's arrest before she'd even set foot in the store. The city council meeting was packed beyond capacity. Maria sat in the front row, her dress uniform crisp and her testimony prepared. As she waited her turn to speak, phones throughout the chamber began buzzing. The hidden security footage was going viral online, spreading faster than any attempt to suppress it could match. When Mayor Patricia Williams called her name, Maria approached the podium with the weight of dozens of victims' stories on her shoulders. "My name is Detective Maria Rodriguez," she began, her voice carrying to every corner of the packed chamber. 3 weeks ago, I was falsely arrested at Riverside Plaza while shopping for my nephew's graduation gift. She detailed the entire conspiracy, the coordinated profiling, the private probation scheme, the financial incentives driving false arrests. As she spoke, she watched the faces in the crowd, seeing recognition dawn in eyes that had experienced similar treatment. "This system has destroyed families," Maria continued. "Hundreds of innocent people pressured into guilty pleas they couldn't afford to fight. Forced to pay supervision fees that trapped them in cycles of debt and surveillance. All to enrich a private company and its collaborators in our city government." The evidence she presented was overwhelming. Financial records, victim testimony, internal communications, 3 weeks of investigation compressed into an undeniable case for justice. As Maria concluded her testimony, the chamber erupted. Mayor Williams banged her gavel futilely as the crowd rose to its feet, demanding accountability. In the back, she could see Officer Thompson being led away in handcuffs, finally facing consequences for years of abuse. 6 months later, Maria walked through Riverside Plaza with Miguel, now graduated and starting his first job in tech. The plaza looked different: new management, reformed policies, and a completely retrained security staff. Yellow tape had long since been removed from the stores involved in the conspiracy. "It's weird being back here, Tia," Miguel said, adjusting his new watch, the graduation gift they'd finally been able to buy in peace. "Good weird or bad weird?" Maria asked. "Good weird. Definitely good weird." Inside Henderson's department store, the atmosphere was completely transformed. The new staff greeted them warmly, professionally. A young manager approached with genuine enthusiasm. "Detective Rodriguez. It's an honor to have you shopping with us. Is there anything we can help you find today?" Maria smiled, remembering the fear and anger she'd felt on that Tuesday evening months ago. But she also remembered the courage it had taken to fight back, the community that had rallied around justice, and the changes that had come from refusing to stay silent. "We're just browsing today," she said. "But thank you." As they walked through the mall, Miguel squeezed her shoulder. "You know what, Tia? You didn't just change this place. You changed everything." Maria looked around at the reformed plaza, thinking of all the lives that had been touched by this fight, the victims who'd found their voices, the community that had stood together, the systems that had been forced to change. "The fight isn't over," she said quietly. "But we won today. And that's how change happens, one victory at a time."